how to promote your music and how to get your music heard in 2024. So for those who you don't know me, I'm Alex. I've been promoting music for the last 15 years, 10, 15 years, whatever it is. I delivered a lot of views, a lot of streams, promoted some of the biggest artists in the world, and that's what I do for a living. So now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you like what I do, how I do it, and how to actually get your music heard in 2024. It's hard, it's complicated. There's like 100,000 records coming out to Spotify every single freaking day, and it's really hard to get through the noise and really hard to actually get noticed. So, again, I promoted tons of records and I promoted tons of songs, and I'm always doing it. That's what I do every single day, 365 days a year, and this is my specialty. So hopefully this advice is going to help you out and you're going to learn something. Which platform do I like to focus on first when I promote the music, right? I like to focus on Spotify first because it's much easier to track the data on Spotify. The data updates much quicker and it's just more user-friendly, in my opinion. But when I'm using digital ads and I'm driving ads to Spotify, I'm going to be able to start seeing data reflection pretty quickly within first 72 hours. It's much easier to mirror it to Apple after Spotify is connecting. So it's very similar audience, very similar DSP. Apple data is just a little bit more complicated. It's much harder to see reflection on the data on Apple, for me at least. Where do you find your data? How do you actually read the data and where do you find it? So when you log into a Spotify for Artists and Apple Music for Artists, you're going to start seeing the streaming data. You're going to see how many streams you're getting per day. And if you're going to look deeper into it, you're going to be able to see it breakdown by the territory, breakdown by the audience, who your audience is, and what's going on there. So as I said before, Spotify is just much easier to see the data first and build it on top of it. But there's another platform that's actually much easier to see the data in, is YouTube. Because on YouTube, you're going to see a reflection of your data and your performance pretty much straight out of the bat. So it's going to take, an hour and you can see if your ads are working or not. So if you're really not sure what's going on and really not sure what to do, you can always try to push some traffic and spend a few bucks just driving your traffic to YouTube. So you can see reflection right away and see like, is the ad actually doing something? So, and then from there, you can start mirroring to Spotify and then continue to build it on Apple and other platforms as well. So how do you actually find people who are going to like and listen to your music, who most likely are going to convert? So when you're going into digital advertising, you're able to target similar artists. So I would suggest targeting similar audiences and just go for it. Just be more, mindful of who the people are and who the fan base is. Don't try to go after the most famous artists because you're artists who are just starting out and trying to advertising, it might be your first time advertising songs ever. It's first time you're promoting songs. It's not necessarily going to convert as well. So I would try to look for artists who are similar to you, but smaller than the main artist. So let's say I'm going for The Weeknd, for example, who's under him, who's like smaller artist, similar to him, but smaller. And the best way to find it, you can go to Spotify for Artists and you can just look through the, who the similar artist to The Weeknd. And if you see the name that you're not really familiar with, click on it and see, okay, there's another similar artist to The Weeknd. So, and there's another artist similar to them and so on. It just keeps going. So you can keep digging really deep into it. And also another cool way is to ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT helps you a lot too. It's, you can ask him, hey, find me 10 similar artists to The Weeknd. And it's just going to give you a list of those. So, and then from there, you can say, oh, okay, cool, I really like this artist. Listen to them and say, hey, sounds really similar to me. So I can go after their fan base. And just, rinse and repeat, so on, and just continue building that. So from my experience, the most effective advertising platform is Instagram. That's what's been converting for me amazingly well on the digital ad side. And of course, YouTube ads. But you can also try influencers, of course. And you can get TikTok influencers, you can get Instagram influencers, you can get some YouTube bloggers to talk about your song and about your music. But if we're talking about the ads only, Instagram converted really well for me. But if you go into different genres, so let's say you are pop, right? And let's say you have pop music and you're promoting, producing pop music. What I would suggest doing is to go into similar artists and look at their audiences, where their audience is talking about them. So let's say I go back to Billie Eilish, so I go after her. And I say, okay, Billie Eilish, she is most talked about is on Instagram. And this is going to be my main platform to drive traffic from because that's where the fans are at. If I see somebody talking about the artist on TikTok and they blew up on TikTok and became famous because of TikTok, I'm going to go on TikTok first. Since I'm on TikTok, that's where I'm going to try to do influencers. I'm going to try to hire some TikTokers to help me to promote my song. But when it comes down to influencers situation, I would be really careful because when you're getting into influencers, it's much harder to get the needle moving and much harder to get your song to blow up. What you need to do is to understand what kind of trend you're going to be promoting. If you just say, oh, I'm going to just go after these influencers, or I'm going to pay them a lot of money to do it, and it's just going to song magically going to become a hit. It doesn't work like that. Hasn't been working like that for a long time. In the situation when you're hiring influencers, it's very easy to spend a lot of money very quickly and don't get any results, and then come back and be like, oh, well, I spent 20 grand on this and nothing really happened. And it happens a lot. So you have to be very specific and know exactly what you want to achieve and know exactly what kind of trend you want to promote to influencers. Dance trends don't work anymore. I mean, they do, but they don't work to an extent that everybody's going to start doing this dance. It's really rare that it's actually grabbing and actually connects and actually doing something. What I see people are doing is they simplifying it, and it just goes much, much simpler than it used to be 5 years ago. Nobody's impressed by insane dance performances. It's like, wow, that's cool. They're dancing and the dance might go viral, but it's not necessarily going to convert into streams. So if the video goes viral and the song behind it, it might bump something, but might not. And I've seen many cases that the video is performing really good and the video gets millions of views, but nobody's streaming the record. So you want to always convert into streams. And in order to do it, you just have to create a mass of people who's going to keep doing it, this trend over and over again. So what is social listening? So usually social listening is used to analyze the brand, overall brand performance and brand safety, meaning that marketers go and brands, go on the social listening and they listen to every single thing that people talk about the brand. If they're talking negatively, they're going to try to flip it. If they talk positively, they're going to try to amplify it. So that's where the social listening comes in. So what it comes down to, it's analysis of all the platforms, whatever's going on. So if, people talking about brand on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok, on YouTube, how they talking positive, negative, and, that's where the brands come and trying to put their image either in the better lights and get more awareness around something, or fix it if somebody's talking negatively. I'm using it differently. So the way I'm using social listening is I'm analyzing similar artists. So if I have a similar artist, I'm going to start listening about what people talking about this artist and which platform they're talking about the artist. So if I go again, Billie Eilish, so let's go back to her since we're on it. If I go back to Billie Eilish and I say, okay, people listening to Billie Eilish, people are fans of Billie Eilish, most of her consumption comes from Instagram. What do people say? Oh, people speak positively about her. Who are those people? So what are they doing? If I go into fans of Billie Eilish, I'm going to look at what they into as well. So if I look at the fans and I say, okay, those are the people who listen to her, who pay attention to her, who really likes her music, what kind of content they posting? Are they sharing music videos? Are they sharing dog videos? Are they sharing cat videos? But also what her fans like. So are her fans into makeup? What kind of makeup they're wearing? What kind of coffee they drink? What kind of brands they're buying? So you can target all these audiences and all these affinity audiences on Meta, on Facebook, on Snapchat, and you can go after a much wider audience if you decide to do so. And then I'm rinse and repeat it. So they're talking about her on TikTok, super popular. Cool. So what are they posting? Oh, they're posting more of the spoken videos. So then I'm going to give them similar content. And the reason why I'm going to give them similar content is that because they're already used to it. They already kind of know, oh, this is something that I like. This is something that I post. So my eyes and my brain is already tuned into it. So I'm more likely to click and more likely to pay attention to it. So how do you get this information? How do you do social listening? And there's programs and softwares that you can be using. I go into Chartmetric. So Chartmetric being a kind of go-to for me on the audiences and the fan base. I do a lot of things manually too. So if I look at, Selena Gomez's fans, I'm going to take a look at people who follow her, what kind of stuff they're posting. So I'm going to dig through this information as well. Also, Spotify, similar artists. Spotify is going to give you a lot of information about what people are streaming and what similar artists they're streaming. And since we want to convert into streams, this is our main thing, and our main analysis should come from the streaming data, because I've seen so many cases that people have a lot of followers, a lot of engagement. They're just blowing up out of proportion on TikTok. And then they drop the record and they're like, oh, everybody's going to stream it. But when it comes down to the song, people might not. The audience might want different things. So you always have to go after the audience who's going to stream your music. This is the most important part, because otherwise you're just going to have people, but no consumption. And for me, the most important platforms to go to look for the social listening and doing this analysis is I do it manually, I do it for Spotify for Artists, and I do it for Chartmetric. I think more you do it and more you're going to try doing it, easier it's going to get for you. So you're going to get, right now to me, it's just I can look at the artist and I can say, oh, I ran 50 campaigns on the similar artist, similar situation. So I already kind of know where to go and I already know where to take it. So more you're going to do it, better you're going to get at it. Another interesting thing is what kind of content do you share around your music? How do you promote your song? And what do you see connecting? How do you actually convert it to streams, right? There's so much content you can post. You can post behind the scenes, you can post the music videos, you can post, a lot of like lo-fi content and things like that. And what is actually going to convert? And what I would say is all of it, first of all, because more content, the better. But you also need to understand your audience. You need to understand what your audience actually wants and what your audience is actually interested in. As an example, right, if I put myself as an example, let's say I'm trying to grow an artist and I'm trying to promote the artist. I usually would go with a few different options for creative. I look through the artist first. We usually choose one because we have experience with this already and kind of understand what's going to work, what's not. But in the beginning, when I just started out, I went for a lot of pieces of content before I saw what's actually working. And you have to test it out. You have to see what your audience reacts to. And sometimes your audience actually going to take you to a completely different direction because algorithms and AIs that being used by Spotify, by Apple, by YouTube, they are much smarter than they used to be. So this algorithm is going to understand what your audience is resonating with and what they're actually reacting to. It might take time and it might take a minute to get the audience tuned into it, but if you pay attention to where they're going and what they're commenting and engaging with, you're going to be able to make a shift much easier and find like, oh, this is what's working. And also every single time you post content, start analyzing what is it doing. If let's say I have a video of me singing a song, lip syncing a song, right? So I posted on my Reels, I posted on my TikTok, I posted everywhere. And let's say TikTok all of a sudden went up and I got a few thousand views. My next question would be, did it convert into streams? Do people stream my song? If I see uptick on the streams, I'm going to keep doing this type of content. If I don't see it, then I'm just going to try to move on and try to do something else and be like, hey, so this thing did not work at all and it did not resonate with people at all. So what am I going to do now is I'm going to say, all right, let me try to do clip from the music video. Let me cut it out and post it up and see what's up, what's going to do. And if I see all of a sudden spike on streams, be like, oh, that's dope. Okay, cool, that worked. That works. So I can amplify on this. And I've seen a lot of cases actually recently. I had one artist, right? We promoted her song probably like 2-3 years ago. And the song, when we stopped promoting, the song went down a little bit and just completely flattened out. So right now she's doing about like 50,000-60,000 streams a day and it just goes flat. But when she started posting Reels, one of her Reels went viral. And she went all of a sudden from 50,000, she went to like 150,000 a day. And this spike was caused by the Reels alone, because she also posted on TikTok and she also posted on YouTube. So she called me up and said, hey, can you analyze my data? Can you take a look at what actually going on and what's driving it? And I did analysis on this. And although TikTok got a lot of views, YouTube got a lot of views, but Instagram, that's what drove it. So what my suggestion was to her is just amplify this and continue doing very similar content on Instagram. And right now, I think the record's sitting in about 250,000 a day, and it just continues to go up. And the reason for this is because she posted something that connected, and then she amplified on this. So with the content, I would say experiment. Always try different things. Always try to experiment as much as possible. And this is how you're going to be able to find what actually works for you. Also, don't forget the very important part. If you promote a song, if you release a song, people have, I think we as people, we're spoiled, right? And we think, if I didn't get thousands of streams right out of the gate, if I didn't get thousands of views right out of the gate, my career is over, I'm done. But none of this is true. I've seen songs and I've seen videos that connect years after. All of a sudden, out of the blue, something picks up, something triggers, something, and it just goes. So to me, what's important is try to experiment, and you have time to build it. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to be like, oh, I just need this number. Numbers don't impress anybody. Numbers haven't been impressing anybody since the time of MySpace. It just doesn't matter. How much numbers you have, numbers can be manipulated, but your actual consumption and actual understanding of your fan base, that's what the most crucial thing is. So another thing is, how do you actually measure success and how do you actually understand what is success, right? So to me, success is I spent money, I got first, I break it into 3 pieces, right? First, I spent money, I got uptick on the streams. So that's number one thing. So is the record starting to stream, and is the record starting to trend up with my ads? The second part is it continues to grow after the campaign is done? Successful campaign is I stop promoting it, the song continues to grow. So, and that's the important part. It means I triggered the algorithm, I triggered the audience, and people starting to share it, people reacting to the song, and it just continues to grow. And the third part is what happens after all this stops, right? So let's say every single song, every single record is going to have a peak. And this happens across from everything. And I don't know why. This is a really hard thing to explain. But each record, like let's say I'm starting to spend on the record, and let's say I got this record to 20,000 streams a day on Spotify. And this is our peak. We plateau there, right? We hit our ceiling. So what's going to happen, even if I spend $100,000 a day, it's still not going to go past above this 20,000 as much. It probably will jump like with 100 grand, probably will jump another 10,000, but it's not going to be as significant and impactful as people would think. Every single time you hit the ceiling, it just happens. And there's nothing you can really do about it, nothing you can really flip about it. But what happens after all this? You hit the ceiling. Let's say we started the promotion, right? You grow the record continued to grow without the ads, and then it stopped. When everything stops, it's gonna start dipping. So it just becomes like a going up the hill and going down the hill. So this wave of trending. So the third part is really important: is where is it gonna land? So when it starting to go down and starting to go on the downtrend, it's very important to see and watch the record really closely there, because you're going to start seeing where is it flattening out. And if, let's say, you're doing 10,000 streams a day, you're going to lose about 50% of this. It's going to stay at 5,000. What it means that it's going to consistently keep streaming at 5,000 a day, and it's going to do it for years. I haven't seen any records drop since, my promotions, like back in 2017, 18. So they're still streaming pretty much where I left them, a little bit less, a little bit more. But interesting part about this, you can always bring this record back up to your 10 or 20,000 streams, whatever the peak was. So all you need to do is just to restart the ads and restart the content. So you always can come back up. And to me, it's a very interesting play as well, interesting thing, because you can adjust and say, okay, I dropped the record, right? I streamed it, I brought it up to 10,000 streams per day. I flattened out at about 5,000 a day, right? And it continues to stream. But I'm about to release another record with another, next month. So I have about a month window. So what I can do is I can take my old record, spend some money on it, bring it back up to 10,000 streams, and then drop the second record on top of it. So which is going to help me to build this, avalanche kind of situation. So this it's just continuations, like a snowball moment, right? So the first record released, streamed, dropped, streamed this back up, dropped another record, continue streaming higher, and hoping that my second record will jump on the algorithms. Algorithm's going to pick it up. Spotify's going to pick it up. Apple's going to pick it up, and just continue to stream it. So hoping that my next record is going to stream about 20,000 a day. And then from there, I'm just going to keep building over and over again and just replicate this moment. So let's say you're an artist, right? And you are getting 100 streams a day. You don't have any variables. You don't have anything going on. So you're just starting out, right? So you're barely getting 100 streams a day, and you're trying to grow your record. To me, this is the best time to start promoting, because less variables you have on the record, less drivers you have on the record, and less movement you have, more understanding you're going to get about what works for you. You can try so many different things. And I promise you, even on the digital ads, if you spend $5-10 a day run an ad and trying to see if it's going to convert, you're going to see results. And if you see results, you can just scale it up and multiply this and just continue building. You can try all the platforms. You can try Instagram. You can try TikTok. You can try Snapchat. You can try YouTube. You can try all of them. And then see combinations that actually going to work for you. So when you have less streams, when you have small amounts of streams, that's the best time to test. And it's the best time to actually try things out and see this is actually working, this is not working. So you can eliminate things earlier. So starting out the artist and starting building somebody who's not streaming a lot, that's my favorite part. When you get a big artist, right, let's say somebody came and, they streaming already like 300,000 streams a day. They're already doing like massive numbers and they had hit records. This record is a hit. It's much harder to see the movement on the advertising side. It's much harder to see what actually ads doing. It doesn't matter how much I spend, but if I have editorial playlist, if I have radio support, if I have PR, if I have all these things driving it, and the record is just skyrocketing, it's really hard to say like, oh, ads did that. But when you have no streams, when you're barely starting out, you can see like, oh yeah, ads did this, definitely working, definitely moving the needle. And that's how you build. And understanding if your ads are connecting, if your ads are working, this is how you're actually going to be able to take it to the next level, because you can always scale it up. And if you understand your audience, that's how you learn. And that's how you learn what's working and what doesn't. So another important thing is how much money you actually spend, right? And this is an important thing. People look at the ads and say, whoa, this is something incredibly expensive. I have to spend thousands of dollars in order to see the movement. I have to spend a lot of money in order to see that. And it's not true, because you can achieve results and you can start seeing results with a very small amounts of money. There's two issues that people have when they're running ads, and there are two things that the two roadblocks that are actually stopping them. The first thing is they are looking at the ads as the magical unicorn that's going to completely switch them and completely flip them and turn them into stars, which is not true. Ads don't do that. Ads help you to build consumption and expose your music to audience that is most likely going to engage with this. So that's all the ads doing. So what I'm doing is like I'm paying for the algorithm to show my music to more people. But another thing that people don't understand is they expect, oh, I'm spending X amount of money, but I'm not making this money back. What people don't understand is you're not going to make money while you're spending money on ads. When you're going to start making money is when the record's flattened out. After you build it already, remember I talked about the dip, once it dips and it stays flat, that's when you start recouping. So understanding that part and being like, all right, I'm going to drive it as hard as I can, push it as high as I can on the record, on the song, on the streams. And once it flattens out, that's when I'm going to start recouping, right? So that's kind of two issues that people don't get and don't understand. And when you're spending the money, you can start very small. Another misconception about the ads is I have to spend a lot of money in order to make it work, but it's not true. You can start very small, and you can start with small amounts of money and to see what's working, and then scale up on what actually moving the needle and what actually bringing you streams. So to me, you can start with a couple $100 and you're going to be able to see results. You can allocate a couple $100 towards YouTube, a couple $100 towards Instagram, maybe $100 or $2 towards TikTok, and same thing with Snapchat. But you're going to be able to start seeing results from this amount of money. And there's never, if something doesn't work and if something doesn't react and doesn't connect, it doesn't mean that you didn't spend enough money. Also, it doesn't mean that your song is bad. It means that you still have to build the audience. You have to still build a skill. Promoting songs is a skill. It's not luck. There's no luck in this. I mean, like some people get lucky and some artists get lucky and blow up out of the proportion just by accident, but it doesn't happen that often. There's no industry involvement that, industry can make every artist success. If they could, they would have, but they're not. So it's not that. It's a skill. And the skill can be developed more you do it. But I think starting small and starting with a few $100 just to understand how the platforms work and what you can achieve with this, trying to retarget and really pay attention to your ads and really pay attention to what it's doing, gonna help you to understand the whole formula and understand the whole performance of your advertising. So spending a few $100 is gonna help you a lot. And I've seen records that actually with a few $100 starting to connect and started to pick up and the artist started to move. It didn't become hits, right? But the records moved and you definitely could see the movement and you definitely could see the build. So if the artist releases more music on top of this and consistently release the music, then they're going to be able to get more and more streams, more and more promotions, and eventually it's going to build a career out of it. So, because that's what we're all looking for, right? Yeah, so basically to summarize everything, right? It's very important to promote your music, very important to do it the right way. I think it's crucial that you learn the advertising and you learn the skill and you learn how to do it and how to do it the right way, right? Connecting your audience is hard and it's really complicated and it's very difficult. But I think if you're trying and if you're consistent with this and if you're really trying and if you're trying to different approaches, different things, and you're experimenting without it, just not giving up, then you're going to be able to achieve results. And then you're actually going to be able to see the difference. And eventually, trying it over and over and over again, you're going to be able to achieve success. So yeah, so keep experimenting, keep trying new things. And I'll see you next time on the vlog and hope you enjoy this one. I hope I give you some cool information and cool insights. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And I hope you like it. All right, talk to you soon. Peace.